Oh my gosh, it's so exciting to have these amazing men with us. So we're going to throw it back to the beginning of the new millennium by taking a look back at some of Y2K. Y'all ready to go back? Okay, so let's have a seat. Let's get into this. We gotta know what's going on. So now, before we head to the 2000s, we should party like it's 1999. Okay, and we're gonna take a look. Y'all was singing with me. I love that. Y'all were ready to go. We're gonna take a look at Tarzan. How about Tarzan, everybody? Oh my gosh, Tarzan, this film that really led us into this new era of animation. Kevin, Mr. Kevin, right here, please tell us a bit about the journeys you went on to create the environments in this amazing film.
Well, I could probably take up the whole panel talking about this, but I'll make sure to leave some time for you. So, you know, the biggest thing that I think about when I think about creating worlds is research. We do a lot of research when we made these movies. And I think the most important piece of research, because you can look at all the pictures, you can look at 1,000 pictures, you can look at 100 nature documentaries, but until you're standing in that place, you don't get a true sense of what it is. And as artists, that's what we need to make that, to make these films, to make that happen, to translate it. So we go on research trips. And we were lucky enough to go to Africa. And the first place we went was Kenya. And in Kenya, we learned a lot of different things. But one of the things that sort of translated to the movie is that we found out that there was such a thing as red elephants. You can change the slide to it. Now, normally I would have thought Disney elephants are gray. Let's just make them gray, right?
We all know that.
Yeah. But we discovered that elephants are the color of the dirt that they traverse. So they were red elephants, and that allowed us to sort of elevate, and we had a pop of color into our movie because we had like gray and black gorillas, and so everything was really kind of like monochromatic down here, and pop with some orange. One of the second things we learned is that, we thought we were going to be really clever. In animation, we could like animate a human to act like a gorilla. But what we found out, and you can roll this video. We went to Sweetwater's chimp sanctuary, and we met a young boy who was 5 years old, and he was growing up with chimpanzees. And he was like a little Tarzan to us. And the way he played with them, and the way he rough-handled with them, we said, you know what? We can't do much better than this. It exists in real life. Let's just use this kid as a model. And we gave all this footage that we collected to John Ripa, who was our supervisor of Young Tarzan, and he put together this test based on those pieces of video that we brought back with us. So you can see how every little piece that you collect when you're out in the real world affects what you do on screen. We also went to Uganda. That was the second part of our trip. And we trekked into the, chest-high vegetation, and we met and sat with, that's me with hair.
That was a long time ago.
Yes, it was, Don. Yes, it was. And we trekked through like hours through like vegetation, like chest-high vegetation to get to them. And when we were there, what we discovered was that they're a family, much like us. They are a family, and they had like alpha males with a lot of machismo. We had like loving mothers and rambunctious kids. And we discovered the theme of our movie while we were there, which Phil Collins put into a song. Yes, Phil Collins. Give it up for Phil. Come on, Phil Collins. He did a beautiful job on that movie. Also on there. And what we discovered was a theme, which was two worlds, one family.
Two worlds, one family.
Thank you for that. And so it was a great discovery. The second thing that happened was that we were trekking through all this vegetation. No, not this yet. Not this yet. Sorry. I'm a director. So. The second thing we discovered was that we were trekking through all this really tall vegetation. I was talking to my art director in St. Pierre, and we had this conversation, like a wishful conversation about wouldn't it be great if the characters could actually touch the environment, Because I don't know if in animation, it's usually like a flat ground plane where you can't really touch things, or if you're going to touch them, they pop into a cell animated piece.
Yeah.
They play with them. We thought maybe we could paint our backgrounds in a way that would allow us to make it seamless. So this is where deep canvas came to be. And we brought this idea back to our wizards back at Disney, led by Eric Daniels. And they came up with this idea of the animators and the layout artists working together to create a path for the characters. Then it would all be painted with brush strokes. And then we put our animation into it, and a character could then interact with the environment. And this hadn't been done at the studio, I don't think. I mean, we've done 3D worlds, but we had never done something that looked like a painting. And so we basically, based on that research trip again, came up with this idea and brought it back to the studio, and it tumbled throughout the studio after our movie, and these guys took it up and continued with it.
Isn't that incredible? It's so incredible. It's fascinating to see how you turn a real-life journey into an animation using technology. I mean, because that would be used a lot throughout the next decade of animation, which is pretty incredible. So after Tarzan, the first film of the new millennium was Fantasia 2000, y'all. Yes. So Mr. Don Hahn, so can you tell us about the journey that led to this film?
I almost wore the same outfit. I want to talk about this guy on the screen. This is Roy Disney. And yeah. So I think I can speak for all of us to say none of us would be here without this man, and possibly none of you would be here either. He had a passion for the art form. He had a passion for us and for animation and for his family business, and a passion for Fantasia. Walt originally meant for Fantasia to be this ever-changing concert piece. It would come to your town, it would play, and then after a few months a new piece would go in, and that was abandoned after a while, but when the year 2000 came up, Roy said, let's do a new Fantasia that kind of celebrates that idea. So he did, and over a period of probably 10 years, we started to animate sequences between movies. So somebody would finish a movie and then go into Fantasia, then come out and do another movie. And that became Fantasia 2000. Roy was our champion through that entire time, and for all of us, on all of our movies, was great. He was quiet, he was effective, he gave great notes. We owe him so much.
He had our backs. He really did have our
That's
backs.
beautifully said. Yeah. He had our backs. Not to imply other people didn't have our backs, but the interstitial sequences were just a way of kind of turning a corner to new music, and we brought in such great people like Angela Lansbury and Steve Martin and James Earl Jones, and those became kind of a fun way to glue the whole movie together. But we also took a research trip because, like Kevin said, as artists, I think all of us want to have that kind of real-life inspiration. There's something about humanity in an era when we're dealing with a lot of artificial intelligence and a lot of different things. I have tremendous faith, and always will, in just our humanity and our humanness to create, and that will always be with us. And so going out in the field and being able to observe things, like volcanoes, like Mount St. Helens, or to observe elk in the wild or whatever, and I think those kinds of things turn into art that is fresh and interpretive of our lives, and a caricature of our lives, and something that was always really inspiring. I brought a little video along so you can hear Roy talk a little bit about his passion for
Firebird didn't really come into our consciousness until we tried a half a dozen other pieces looking for a finale that had some kind of an uplifting.
Yes. Woo, woo. But later came Dinosaur, and then The Emperor's New Groove. But more on that later, so stay tuned. Then in 2001, we had Atlantis, The Lost Empire. So Don, what real life location did you and the team on this film journey to create this immersive fictional place?
Well, we thought, first of all, Atlantis had become this cult film, as have all of our films from 25 years ago, and we just have to thank you all for kind of celebrating that. So
Yeah.
thank you. Boy, we took our team, Gary Trousdale on the left, Kirk Wiles on the right, Michael J. Fox in the middle, and just immersed ourselves literally in the world of exploration, deep in the sea. When we pitched this to our executives at the time, we said, we're going to go down Main Street. We're going to get to the hub, and instead of going through the castle, we're going to turn left, and we're going to go to Adventureland. And that was such a part of the Disney canon, is going to Adventureland. So we immersed ourselves literally by going to places like the Aberdeen Proving Grounds, where they have tanks from World War I. The era we were using was all about World War I vernacular. And so we designed based on actual submarines and tanks and exploration kind of craft from that era. And that turned into a lot of the art direction for the submarine in the movie, a lot of the vehicles in the movie. And this is just some of the artwork that was pre-production artwork from those field trips. And then, as one does, we really immersed ourselves by going underground. Some of the most amazing caves. We went to Carlsbad Caverns, where the room is, their large room is 13-foot ball fields across, much bigger than this room, underground, and it's spooky and full of bats. And so as an inspiration for underground spaces, it was incredible. Then we went to a backcountry cave where you are walking through the desert and there's a hole in the ground. And you just like hop into the hole and go find things. This is our entire crew, art directors, and me as a younger man, underground, just it's an unbelievable experience because you're trapped basically. And some of the spaces we went into were no bigger than the space underneath the chair that you're sitting in. And I'm a large guy. And to be able to go through those spaces was intimidating and exciting and a bonding experience with our crew. I brought along a little clip to show you how ridiculous it is and the lengths we go to try to have those real in-field experiences that inspire us all. So here's the gang from Atlantis back in the old days at Carlsbad Caverns.
2002 came a little film you all may be familiar with that actually was animated in Florida. And then later in 2002, we then journeyed to another immersive fictional world, Treasure Planet. So Ron, can you tell us how this film came to be?
Yeah, unfortunately, no research trips able to do that. But actually, the project began with me as an adolescent. I was a big Disney animation fan, and I was a big science fiction fan. And I was always kind of thinking, wouldn't it be cool to put the two together if there was like a Disney animated feature that had robots and rocket ships? So then later in the fall of 1984, when Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg first came to Disney at the first Disney Gong Show, which was a brainstorming technique that Michael Eisner had as a way of coming up with new ideas for animated features. And if you got gonged, it was over. Anyway, at that Gong Show, I pitched both The Little Mermaid and Treasure Island in Space, and they both got gonged. Actually, The Little Mermaid got ungonged just a few days later, and Treasure Island in Space got ungonged while John Musker and I were making Aladdin.
Wow, a little movie called Aladdin. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes. Thank you.
Had a genius and everything. And the idea was that when we finished Aladdin, our next project was going to be Treasure Planet. That would follow Aladdin. And we even did visual development while we were making Aladdin, while we were directing Aladdin. These are some alien designs from an artist named Rick Mackey, who loved designing aliens. I think he did like hundreds of drawings like these. And we go on these just more aliens than you could ever imagine. Anyway, and when we finished Aladdin, Jeffrey Katzenberg had soured on the idea of doing Treasure Planet, which was a bummer for us, and it was also a bummer for the young writers, Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, who worked with us on Aladdin, because they were big pirate movie fans, and they really wanted to write the script for Treasure Planet. But it worked out fine for them because they went on to write the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. So they did okay.
Yeah, I've heard of those.
Yeah, that worked out.
Meanwhile, John Musker and I were still trying to get this going again. I think we have a slide here This is a sort of mock one sheet, drawn by John Musker and painted by Andy Gaskell, of like trying to sell this movie. And finally, the studio decided that we actually could make the movie, but not as our next film. We had to do another movie first. So we did Hercules, and then Treasure Planet afterwards.
Wow.
You have to prove yourself, really, before you start thinking.
That is really incredible. I just love. I mean, it's fun to sort of see the steampunk feel of the film. I love that feel. So I'd be curious to learn more about that influence in developing that look for the film.
It was kind of steampunk before there was steampunk.
Yes.
It was a very retro film. We always envisioned it as kind of a fusion of the past and the future, and really wanted to favor the past. We invented this rule we call the 70-30 rule, which we meant 70% like 17th century, 30% the future. So really, really favoring the past, as you can see in a lot of this artwork. And then following that, we sort of went for an oil painting style, which is deep canvas now carried to a further extent. These are actual oil paintings done by Andy Gaskell and Dan Cooper, but oil paint takes forever to dry and it doesn't smell very good, but we did digital oil paintings, so we solved that. And these all kind of lead to what the film actually kind of ended up looking like.
Isn't that incredible to sort of see? I mean, really, the film is a hybrid of hand-drawn and 3D animation. So, like, to be able to sort of bring that together, I mean, that's pretty.
It was a hybrid film, absolutely. Most characters were hand-drawn. The robot Ben was all digital. Silver was digital. Glenn Keane did the character animation of Silver, as you can see here, and then another animator did the cyborg parts. So we actually was a fusion of hand-drawn and that. And I have a clip here. I'm just going to show a clip of the virtual sets that were developed for the movie. They're again deep canvas for a cult audience for the film, and that's really gratifying because so many people did such brilliant work on the movie, and it's good to see these movies sort of live on and have a life of their own.
Wow. Thank you for that. So then in 2003, we have Brother Bear. Yes. So Aaron, where did your journey, how did that to create this beautiful, rich environment? We have a theme here. It's been fun to learn about these environments that you directors have created. For you, how did this come about?
Well, since I was a kid, I always wanted to go to Alaska and just see them. I grew up in the Everglades down in South Florida. So this opportunity came about. I was going to Alaska all through the 90s.
Take this mic. There we go. Just make sure that we can get.
Hello?
There we go.
There we go. So I grew up in South Florida in the Everglades, always wanting to go to Alaska. And through the 90s, I was going to Alaska all the time. And so the opportunity to make Brother Bear came along, and I really wanted to set it there. So we went to Alaska. We also went to Yellowstone. We went to Grand Teton, Denali National Park in Alaska. We went to 10,000 Smokes, all over the place in Alaska. And I swear I had sleeves. I did wear sleeves. That's me trying to. And I was also, we were also known as Brother Hair back then. But one of the things I want to point out is you're going to see a lot of sketches here. That's the big thing that I wanted to focus on today, and that is, we make hand-drawn animation, and that is our language. Drawing is our language, and so if you want to speak well, if you want to be a great poet, you need to know your language, and so if you want to do great animation, you need to draw well. And so I always have a habit, as well as the rest of the crew, is bringing sketchbooks with us everywhere we go. And those sketchbooks really were invaluable for us on that trip. So I took my sketchbook everywhere I went. I jotted down you know, what we were doing, the experiences, the smells, and I drew everything I could find. And we bring those back, and these became really wonderful tools. And people always ask, well, why don't you use Google or, you know, all these other, websites to try to find reference? And the key is, as Kevin was saying, you go there and you smell the smells and you feel the wind in your face and you see the animals. And you know, I was camping at McNeil River State Park, and I would come out of my tent and I never counted less than 13 bears, wild coastal grizzly bears that were 1,000 pounds apiece. And there is just something about that experience. And when you live that, then it makes it into the film, and it makes it feel so much more authentic and tangible. You know, it makes the world feel real, and that's what I think Disney and Pixar is so great at, is creating these worlds that are believable. And so a big part of that is going there and experiencing it. We landed on the glaciers. You know, that's an oil painting that I did there. I came back from one of my trips to Alaska. That big oil painting right there, I brought that into Tom Schumacher's office, and I said, see, this is what I want the movie to look like. I'm carrying this big giant painting, and it just lends itself to that authenticity. You know,
Wow,
it just really builds that
that's
world.
really cool. So, yes. So, I'm curious about your new BFF that is in the photo. Can you tell us about
This
BFF?
little guy, we were up in Alaska, and we were camping near Denali National Park, and I was going out sketching some of the grasses, and this little squirrel, I guess he had gotten used to the campers, and he was just determined to get food from me. He was going through my sketchbook, he was going all over the place, and so he's immortalized in my sketchbook. I wrote all my notes and everything, and like I said, being there, that little guy made it into the film. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened, right? And so you go there and you experience it. Like I said, on the next slide that we're going to see, we leaned into the wind, you know, in the On My Way song. We're just outside of Anchorage in Turnagain Arm, and there's this giant wind that comes through the bay there. And we leaned, that's Chuck Williams and myself, our producer, and I was leaning into the wind. And I remember after we came out of that, we said, we got to put this in the movie. And there it is, it's in the film. So, you know, it's those experiences that make these research trips so incredibly important.
Oh my gosh, this is incredible. Give it a half these men. So special to have you all here. Thank you. So now, you know, our journey into the world of D2K animated films is coming to an end. I feel like, though, we should be ending with a pop crossover, right? Like, there's like at the end of all these, there's a fierce pop crossover song. I mean, that's how all Disney animated films end. Isn't that right, y'all? Isn't that how that's how it ends? So, you know, at the end of some of the films, there was some pop crossovers, right?
Planet Johnny Red.
Let's go! How many people know sing along? Skilly beep, we are. Skilly beep, we are. Beep, beep. Skilly beep. Skilly beep, we are. Skilly beep, we are. Put your hands together, come on. Thanks for having me.